Okay, so we've now got Karl Hampton. Karl works for NintiOne, and he's going to talk on Aboriginal community views on feral camel impacts and management. Over to you, Karl. It is that one.
Thanks, Steve. And I'd like to begin by acknowledging the traditional owners of Canberra. As a Warlpiri man from Central Australia, very important we acknowledge those traditional owners and elders past and present. Yeah, look, as Steve has said, my presentation's on the community views, and I suppose we're coming towards the end of the day, and I'd be hoping that some of the data that we collected across the WA, SA and NT will really provide more evidence-based data to what people have been saying throughout their presentations today. As we've heard all day, there's been a lot of views and a lot of reports done in the past, and I suppose a lot of those reports are sitting on shelves somewhere collecting dust, but as the young gentleman said on the last presentation on the video there, you know, we're not going away, and particularly those people in those communities aren't going anywhere. That's their country, and they'll continue to work on those sorts of management issues such as feral camels. But again, you know, we need to acknowledge the work that's been done in the past by people and by government. And a lot of that work that was done in the past, a lot of those reports actually informed NintiOne and our survey instrument that we were going to take out to those communities and ask Aboriginal people about feral camels. So very much important part of NintiOne is the Aboriginal Community Researcher Network. And there's some of the places, or most of the places, where we've got Aboriginal community researchers. In the feral camel management project, we used about 10 Aboriginal community researchers, particularly around Central Australia. In some other areas, such as the Martu lands and Spinifex, I know Twiggy and those guys there did their own surveys on tablets for us. But again, it goes back to collaboration, it goes back to working with organisations like the Central Land Council, ranger groups like the Papunya Rangers, Juwampa Rangers, Ginger Porter Mob and many others, as well as those interstate. So we do rely heavily on those partnerships with land councils and rangers, but also we've got about 30 or 40 Aboriginal community researchers located in those communities. All of those researchers are local people in their communities. Some of those community researchers speak 5 or 6 different Aboriginal languages. And we'll go to a slide very soon to show how many language groups were in the regions that we covered with the surveys. So we conducted 222 individual surveys by NintiOne Aboriginal community researchers. As you can see, that's across around 40 odd communities, as I said, in WA, SA and Northern Territory. Conducted by Aboriginal community researchers in language using tablets. And very important, I think, those Aboriginal community researchers are, because when you're doing business on Aboriginal land with Aboriginal people, it's really important that you've got mutual trust. You know, they trust you as much as you trust what they're saying when you go out there and do particular research, in particular research work. And to have community researchers asking questions, often sitting down with us in Alice Springs, looking at the methodology, the survey questions before we go, really does provide a better environment when you're out there in those communities undertaking that data collection. Also in terms of their work, they provide valuable advice to us and guidance on aspects of research, but also aspects of cultural knowledge and community knowledge. Often many of those, as well as some of us, our senior research officers like myself, have got family connections right across Central Australia and even over the borders. We see the photo there. We've got Lorraine King. She's an Aboriginal community researcher with us. Lorraine speaks about 5 or 6 different Aboriginal languages, as well as very good English. She works out of Umawa in the APY lands, and she did a trip with us through to Warburton, Warracoona, as she also speaks Nunanjara, Yanganjara as well. So, you know, these people are very important in terms of our organisation and getting really good quality information and data back for these types of research projects. Okay, so we've got the Aboriginal languages, was one of the particular survey questions we asked people. As we can see there's covered quite a few different languages. I think all up we had about 18 different languages spoken by those people who we surveyed, the 222 participants. Next question was about how long feral or wild camels have been coming near their community. And I think, again, it just reflects the data we've got here on what people have been saying. We know that camels have been around for a long time. Often there's seasonal presence as well, as people have heard with drought, fire and rain. Their movements often depend on those weather conditions. But obviously, a majority of participants in the surveys said 4 years or longer, which is not surprising, but just gives us the evidence. The impacts, again, we've heard a lot about the impacts and the photos there. It's around a spring near Hermannsburg and Durry. And that's a bit of work that Jawampa Rangers have done to try and keep camels, but also horses, out from their springs. But as you can see, they're very strong animals, and the guys there, I suppose, are really scratching their heads at how can they keep camels out of the springs. I suppose that's another story as well. When we're going out and about, it's important to spend time with people. Often you hear about a lot of other stories that not just about what you're doing research on, but the other big issue around some of our communities is that of horses. Of course, the Central Land Council has done a lot of work on that, but particularly around in Durry, very significant feral horse issues. The other photo, go back. The other photo there is, where are we? There we go. On a trip to Warracoona, people were there were telling us, if you're driving to Warburton, be very careful. There's camels on the road. Often they lay on the road at night and cause significant problems for road users. So I sort of hadn't seen that before, but probably an hour down the road on the way to Warburton, came across this. And as you can see, certainly during the day it's not too bad, you can see them, although the camel blends in with the colour of the road a bit, but at night it could be a real problem with camels sitting on the road there. 5, okay, better shoot through these. But impacts, certainly the big one there is along the road when travelling, and second is in the bush when visiting country or homelands or outstations. So what are the impacts? Again, we go there. The big one is to trees and plants. We've heard a lot today about that, particularly with the quandong plant or tree. The next big one is rock holes, water holes. Again, very big problems out there and major impacts where camels are making some damage. Future management, again, a very important bit of data we've collected here. The big one there is certainly people out in the homelands and country want to see more muster to truck away. And particularly these guys here were impressive at Piplajara. Just the photo there in the end, that one there, Sean Williamson and some of the other elder men there at Piplajara. And they're very keen on doing mustering and working with, I think, Peterborough, or it could be the one in Caboolture, the abattoir there. They often muster a lot of camels out of there, and the day we were there they actually had some in the yards ready to go. The other photo there, again, is an important one in terms of, this was near Warracoona, and a lady by the name of Daisy Ward, a very impressive lady, local lady there, took us under her wing. And one of the great things about going out there on country, talking to people with ACRs, community researchers, is the willingness of people out there to show you country and show you the damage. Very happy to talk to you and do the survey, but more importantly, they wanted to show us what they were doing, local initiatives to try and stop some of the damage that camels were causing. So the cage there was locally made by the school kids some 10 years ago, and that rock hole is actually about 10 feet deep. And while it's not covering all of it, it's certainly covering the main source of the spring, and it's done the job for 10 years. It's lasted, so it's moved a little bit. The camels have tried to get in there, but again, a local initiative by the kids at the school and by Daisy Ward, and it's done the job. So I think, there's a lot of solutions out there within communities as well that people are doing themselves, which we don't often hear about. The other big one there, in terms of future management, people want to see, well, people certainly say more on the ground shooting for local meat, as well as for pet meat. So that's been talked a bit about today, and certainly the evidence and the data that we've collected there shows that it is a very much on the agenda of people in the communities on what they see as future management and what's important to them. And who should be doing future management? Again, acknowledging the great work that the rangers do, the Aboriginal ranger groups across the two states and the territory. You see a photo there of the Jawampa Rangers, again a couple of men at Piplijara, and the old fella at Piplijara there with his broken down bull catcher. But people out there very much believe that the job of future management of feral camels has to be with the rangers themselves, who live on the country, who manage the land, who in support with the land councils, the community and governments can really work towards this problem well into the future. So the thing that the men at Piplijara were saying to me is what they would like is a bit of help from government. You know, that car's not going. The only way they can muster camels at the moment is on foot, which seems a bit hard to believe, or go the old way, I suppose, on horses. So, you know, a lot of opportunities there, regional economic development, as well as protecting the biodiversity of some of this wonderful country. And I think people like those old men at Piplijara, people like Daisy Ward, the rangers on communities and in working on country, not only do a great job in protecting their country, but I think they're doing a great job for our country as all Australians, and they're protecting our natural assets as well as their cultural assets. Again, I'd like to acknowledge project partners, particularly, as I said, the ranger groups. It was great to be able to get over to Matu land with the support of KJ and Peter C, and to spend a bit of time with those rangers on country, and particularly looking at Lake Dora there, some of the wonderful springs that they have, and some of the challenges that they're facing in terms of feral camels. So again, I'd like to acknowledge all levels of government. I think the Commonwealth Government, the states government, the WA, SA and Northern Territory, and you know, I look forward to seeing what's going to happen in the future, because I think, as I said, I think the ranger groups are a real key to this, and in terms of providing jobs, but also in terms of protecting country for all of us. Thank you.